I'm going to try and put out some videos so that we can keep ourselves going and have a little something to do in this time. So today, I'm going to cover swing and pivot. These both happen around our center, and we're going to use these in practical reasons with vacuuming. Some of you have seen that, or standing up out of a chair. We also going to cover some of the postures in both styles. I'll do a young style and assumed style. Can't do a full form, but a little place where you can practice this. Now, Tai Chi is both practical and very logical. Our brain does not always move us in a logical manner. So we want to sometimes override that, mindfully moving. So everything that I'm going to talk about, I want you to put your mind in your body and try to move your body differently. Our brain likes to move us from top down, so it starts at the head and shoulders and kind of pulls us around. Instead, we want to move from our center outward. So we want to start working towards getting that movement to the center of our body, or our core, or center of gravity. So if you think of your body is turning on axis. So if our first axis runs between our hips, and we all know center line or gig line through our body, if I'm holding a pair of sticks, my fist is my center. In Tai Chi, we want to turn around that vertical center by pushing on this axis in our hips. So when we do this as a swing, I'm going to demonstrate. If I want to go to the left corner, I push forward from the right side of the right hip as I push back on the left. And then reversing, pushing forward on the left as I push back on the right. This should turn me around this center line. It's a yin and yang. My brain would like to pull me from up here, so it's going to take my head and then I'm going to come around. It's a bit of an exaggeration, but it twists the body. Okay, if I'm on this side, it's going to twist me, and it's going to twist the back a little bit. Instead, we want to push equally, or complementary pushes. I'm going to push forward on my right, back on my left, and vice versa, turning on that center line. Just let your head and shoulders come with it for the postures we're going to go over today. You can add a third axis, but right now we're just going to do these two. So from here, turning this way. A lot of times we practice this standing, and I want you to practice with me. We're going to move our fist. So I want you to start feet shoulder width apart, feeling all the edges of those feet on the floor. You can bring your weight forward a little bit to your bubbling well. Keep your quad rounded. Relax the lower back to bring the hips underneath the shoulders. Head up, keep your shoulders down, and expand the back and sink the chest a little bit, holding these fists at your side. So I want to push back on my left side, forward on my right, back on my right side, forward on my left, continue back on my right, forward on my left. Turning. A swing around your center. I am not moving my arms. They're rotating, but I'm not going like this. This is not moving with Tai Chi. This is your brain leading with your hands. So instead we want to make this turn through here, move our hands out and back. Again, make sure you keep your toes in line with your knees and that quad rounded. Now, we would use this in our forms, in both styles, on wave hands like clouds. So in the Yang style, I'm going to be facing forward, but as my hand comes up to my shoulder, I push forward on that right hip, back on the left, and my body turns to the corner. Then I'm going to push forward on the left hip, back on the right to come to center. Continue pushing back on the right hip, forward on the left hip to come to the right corner. My arm did not go through space like this. Watch again. My arm is just going to turn with my body. I'm going to push back on the right hip, forward on the left, continue back on the right, forward on the left. So let's do that together. So square to the front, hips and shoulders square. Have your alignment. Arm is rounded and to the front. And as you push back on the left, forward on the right, you're going to bring your arm up. And then pushing forward on the left, back on the right, and continue until you're at the right corner. Then this hand would rotate, and then as you push forward on the right, back on the left, you're going to be centered, and then you're going to continue that push till you go to the left side. Style, which I find easier on this. So we're going to rotate. We're going to have our hands up. I am at the left corner. So I'm going to push forward on that left hip, back on the right. I'm at the front, but I continue to that right corner. Rotate my arms, pushing forward on that right hip, back on the left, and turning my body. Square, corner. Square, corner. And we don't stop in either of the styles. But we do want to make sure that we are at a certain point. So my arm is at center of my body when I face forward in the young style. So if I'm doing it continuously, I start from the front. Arm and body at center, rotating to the right. Arm and body to the center, rotate to the left, or swing to the left. Like this. When we're doing Zoom style, it is just a continuous push. Because our arms are not changing at all, even in the center. They are changing as we reach the corner. And that will be the only time. Whereas in the other style, they're coming up, and then they're going to rotate. So there's a downward to the center, there's an upward to the center. Always focus on keeping that vertical line through here. Okay, that is one of the easier ones, but where we would use this in real life. And I always have to pretend I have a vacuum in class, but I actually have one today. When people vacuum, they tend to pull from their shoulders and come forward. You're twisting the back. You're going to go like this to move that vacuum around. And it's got all this twisting. Knees are coming in, and you're straining the spine. If we are doing this with a swing, I just push back on my left, forward on my right, back on my right, forward on my left. Very nice. I'm not turning my back as long as I watch my knees when I'm doing this. But we should also be able to step. So we can make longer strides with our vacuum. So if I wanted to do this stepping, I'm going to push back on the left, forward on the right, and let that bring the right foot forward. Push back on the right, forward on the left, and I can make these longer strides. And still keep my spine in a straight line without that twist or without pulling my shoulder out. We're also going to use these waist turns when we step in the form. The majority of the movement to get your foot from point A to point B should be coming around your center, moving through here, this hip axis, this swing. If I was going to swing in Tai Chi, and I just wanted to bring my foot forward, I'd open, but I'm going to push back on the left, forward on the right, back on the right, forward on the left. So where we would use this in our forms. In the Young style, I'm going to use single whip. So if I am facing this direction and I have finished weighted hands like class, can just keep doing this backwards and forwards if you want. Move my center over, push forward on the right, back on the left, push back on the right, forward on the left. Reversing it. Gets a little more complicated on the next step. So push my center over, staying on this center line here. I'm over this foot. Push forward on the right, back with the left. Then as I push through this left leg, I'm going to be moving my weight to my right. But as I do so, I'm going to turn. See how my hips are continually turning and step a little to the left. At this point, my hips are square to the front. It's about this point here where your arm has come up like this, but it hasn't made the turn. So I'm here. Then as my hips are more like this. Then as I rotate my arm, I'm going to change my hip swing. And I'm going to go pushing forward on the left, back on the right. So that I coordinate this rotation of my arm with this swing. Like that. In the Zoom style, we would use this from brush knee. I'm going to do brush knee left. So I have finished, I'll come back and I'm done open and close. So I want to push my center over. There is a rotation, we'll go into that later. I'm going to swing to that left corner and then watch. I'm going to push my weight off of that left leg as I push back on that left side, forward on that right hip, and step. My hips are almost square to the front when I make that step and brush knee. So it's very important that you're aware and keeping your quad open and this knee in line with your toe. Pushing through that right leg, centered left. I'm going to bring in that right foot. At this point, my hips and shoulders are slightly to the corner, but as I extend that arm out, I'm going to push through that left leg, pushing back on the left side, forward on the right. So my weight is going to go back a little bit onto the right, and it's that rotation that comes in with that arm. That's where the push is going to come from. If we start moving on this swing in a yin and yang, we automatically are going to double the power that we have. Whether it's pushing a vacuum cleaner or working against an opponent, I have twice the energy because I'm using my muscles. Two muscles or two coordinated movements instead of a contraction that is just one pull, and then my body is going to contract, resisting it to keep me from going too far. So these complement each other, and it gives us greater energy, greater flexibility. You should also be able to use this whenever you're opening a door, right? So if I'm going to open a door, I'm going to swing like this. If you're right-handed, you're going to push back on your right hand, right hip forward on the left, or close the door, push forward on your right hip. You can use it with a grocery cart. Anytime you need to pull or push something, we should be doing it with this yin and yang, two coordinated energies instead of one. Now this is turning around our center. It is not actually turning with the waist yet or from our center if we're moving from our hip. But we're starting here, and then we're going to work in. So if we are pushing at the hip, it's going to look a little bit more like this. And you have to be very, very aware of your knees, because this kind of movement in the beginning is going to pull. You're going to feel it more in that leg, and we don't want those knees coming in like this. So we want to be very, very aware that we keep that quad open and rounded, and don't make this so big. But as you move inward, so if that push is coming from about here, I'll work it in a little bit until I reach my center. As I get a little bit closer to center, I'm not going to feel as much tug against my knees. It's going to be more internal, more in the torso, and not nearly as much pull. When you get it at your center, so one side forward, one back, like this, then you're not going to be as great a risk to your knees. So initially, if you're moving from out here or external portion of the torso, I want you to be very aware of the knees and not make it so large. That will come when you get it deeper into or closer to your center. Then you can make that turn faster, stronger, and a little bit bigger without pulling your knee. That would be at center. Okay? And next, we're going to work on a vertical rotation around our horizontal axis. So again, this is my hip axis, horizontal axis, and this is my vertical. Now I call this a pivot. If my hand is my center, I want to be able to rotate this way to move my hips and my shoulders and keep them in a line. Now, we do this every time we relax our waist. So this is not anything new, it's just a matter of degree for most of us. But we relax the waist, we bring the hips forward, like this. We bring them forward to put them underneath our shoulder axis, so everything is in alignment. So this is what we call a pivot, or I use the term pivot when we try and put it into our postures in the form. So we're going to work on my favorite lesson again, and that is how to get up out of a chair. So if we are seated, a lot of times I see people try to get up and their feet are behind their knees. Now this means that our knees, which are a hinge joint like this, are already at a maximum rotation, and then you tend to pull your body forward, putting that forward force against those knees. This is really bad for our knees. Even if you're not having knee pain over a lifetime, it's going to wear down the cartilage and everything that supports the knee. So we need to be very careful about how we stand up. Now, to do this correctly, we would get our feet under our knees before we even start. Anytime we do a posture in Tai Chi, or if you're thinking of it as with a martial application, we want to align our lower body first. So we make sure that our feet are under our knees and the knee is not going past the toe. That means that the knee is not overextended, has a little bit of give. Now you can do it with both, even. I personally like one back just a little bit with the heel off the ground. And I find this more stable for me a lot of times from doing the Soon style, but I still don't want that knee protruding way up in front of that toe. So you want the knee in a line over the toe. When we stand up correctly, we are going to push or extend from our waist down into the legs to come up. So we want an upward force when we get out of a chair. So let's go back. What a lot of times people do, because the brain likes to move from top down, it's going to pull. So my head is going to start moving forward, my shoulders are going to come up, and I'm going to pull myself forward out of that seat, and I'm going to start at an angle like this. Now this is a matter of degree. People when you're younger, like 20s or 30s, might be just slightly forward. But if you watch older people, when they hit 80s and 90s, if they don't practice, they're going to start coming up like this. This is really a challenge for your balance. And even when I did that, I made sure that my knees weren't beyond my toes. So if your feet are back here and you do this, you're really straining your knees when you come up. So this will cause tension, right? All this pulling up here. And what happens, again, I'm not doing the feet the way most people would do coming out. You pull here, this comes forward, and then either your back comes up like this, or you pull at the front of the hips, like this, pulling yourself up. So what you're doing is a seesaw action like this. So your weight is rocking on your knees and your hips when you come up out of a chair incorrectly. So if we do this correctly, we have our alignment. We want our head up and our shoulders down, and we want to make sure we get our feet positioned first, and then you're going to push down to come up, and then you're going to bring those hips forward. Relax the waist. So you're going to rotate a little bit down here and bring your shoulders underneath, your hips underneath your shoulders instead of coming up like this. Okay? This is much cleaner, a lot less strain on your knees, your hips, your shoulders, your neck. So let's practice. And again, I want you to be very careful. If you have balance problems, you should work with a table in front of you, something that you can put your hands on. Or if you don't have the leg strength to get all the way up, pushing down, then you come as far as you can and then use your hands. Okay? So that you're going to develop this strength as you practice Tai Chi. So we want our alignment. We want to make sure our feet are underneath our knees. And I want you to push down and then bring your hips forward. And this brings the mass of your body into a line over your feet, your base of support, without that rocking action. Okay? We have to work at this. We have to practice this because our brain likes to pull and use this top pull up the lower body. Okay? This is not healthy for us. The way that we want to do this correctly is more like that drinking bird toy. Okay? A center axis through here. So if I am seated, when I come up, I'm going to push straight down and then rotate along this center axis like this to bring my shoulders back. What people tend to do incorrectly is they come up like this and the shoulders pull back, and that brings those hips forward. Or they pull from the hips, pulling them forward. And again, it's that rocking action. So if I come up incorrectly and I go back like this, that throws me off balance and it doesn't look very smooth. So using my axis, thinking lower body. You're not moving your upper body at all when we do this. So I'm going to push down, hips forward, and extend upward, not pushing my weight forward to come out of a chair. Okay. So we're going to now use this push or extension, making it into two. So now we're going to look at putting this into forms. So if I have my hip axis that runs horizontally, my center line here, and this is my center, I need to be able to rotate this vertical axis along my horizontal axis, such as this. Okay? We do this with our waist and our quad or our center, whichever way you want to look at it. So if I am in brush knee, when I straighten, I want to push my waist down to come back. What I see in class a lot of times, and it's the way the brain likes to work, the brain likes to pull us from the shoulders and come back. And we never get straight, and we cannot maintain that extension in our back. So if I am forward, I'm extended. I have a straight line from the top of my head to my heel. If I use this waist, pushing down and bringing my hips forward, rotating that vertical axis around the horizontal axis of my hips, I can maintain that alignment as I move out of a bow stance to come upright. And then I would reverse it to go forward. So all that movement there is coming from here. Push out, push back. Now that is a straight line, one-way push. Everything should be a yin and a yang, or two. So if I am finished my brush knee, and I have my head and heel in a line, I should push down on the back, and then I push forward, rotating on the front. If I want to go forward, going into brush knee, it would be the reverse. And then back. So this is the two movements. A lot of times we hear Master Young-Joon talk about a tuck, and he'll say it when we come back, like this. But when I hear tuck, my brain automatically contracts through here. We don't want to contract. This will be a rotation, an opening, an extension. And the way that we can tell if we're doing that is whether we can take an inhale as we bring our weight back. So I have done brush knee here. Now, as I come back, I have my alignment, I'm extended, my back is open. To maintain that open back, I will inhale as I make this rotation. And then exhale as I go forward. If you can't get that deep breathing, it just means you need to work a little bit more on moving from this area to bring your shoulders back into upright, or to take your shoulders forward when you're finishing a posture. And this is going to get better when we develop some more flexibility in our hips. So next time that we get together, I'm going to do our warm-ups. And we'll be working on those again, and I'll be explaining them again in a little more detail for those that aren't used to doing them in my classes. But what we want to do is get these hips loose so that I can rotate the back part of the hip, or the socket. It's a ball and socket. So this is the top of my thigh bone here, so that I can rotate this way with the socket. And that is occurring using the waist. As I come back, that should bring those hip sockets in a rotation like this. That keeps my body in alignment. And then they will rotate with me as I come forward. So you have to be thinking mindfully, aware of the movement here, and you need some flexibility in the hips to be able to get this movement back and forward. Okay, when we are doing the form. In the Young style, the brush knee that we just went over with that inhale and exhale and rotation, that'll work for everybody. But also, if you're doing the long form, when we come up to stand on one leg, we need to be moving from here, not bringing our shoulders back. I'm going to try and do this. If we are coming up for a kick, what I see a lot of people doing is shoulders come back as you bring the knee up. I've got a microphone in this pocket, so it's not working real well. What we want to do instead, I'm here, I want to bring those hips forward under the shoulders and then bring the leg up. You're going to be much more stable. It's very similar to standing up out of that chair where you have that rock back and forth on your joints that is not good for us. But here, when my shoulders are already in position over that knee, I bring my hips under and then bring the leg up, instead of a lot of extra movement that we don't need. If you want an added challenge, when we do brush knee, you can add your swing, or this would be like Tai Chi walk. So I finished brush knee left. I need to pivot and swing to open the foot to go to brush knee right. Now you can make this into one movement.
So that is a pivot / swing. Play with that one for a while. And then that also has a rotation in the hip that we'll cover next time when we go over our warm-ups. But this will be that pivot, swing, pivot, swing, pivot, swing. All of that movement is generated, started, initiated in the quad, your center. Now for the Soon style, because it's more upright, it's not as obvious. But there is one place where it is a little bit more so. So if we finish fist under elbow, and we're going to do repulse the monkey. So from here, I'm going to center on that left leg, and I'm going to pivot forward to step back. And then I want to rotate to line up before I draw this foot in and step to the side. Okay, so again, from here, pivot. So that's a rotation down in the front, up in the back. And then I'm going to reverse, and I'm going to come up in the front, down in the back. So my body is upright, and I can draw this foot in, step to go into repulse the monkey to the rear. This one again you can combine. Let's see, from here, I'm going to pivot, swing, and step. Or you can just break it down and keep it broken down from here. So here. Pivot forward, step, pivot back, arms are open and your left fingers are towards your elbow. I'm upright, I'm going to bring the foot here, I'm going to swing, and then I'm going to come across. Being very mindful of our knees. Just like when we do the swing as we were talking earlier, initially it's going to be more out here. I was doing a little closer to center so I didn't feel that tug on my knees, but I want everybody, especially in the arthritis class, be very careful that when I come back, I am keeping that knee in a line, and when I swing, this knee stays in a line. We don't want to come over here and bring it in like that. Okay, that should cover us for today. And like I said, next time we're going to go into some warm-ups. I'm going to explain moving our center and shifting our weight. And I hope everybody stays well between now and then.